Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Failure Effect. This week, we're talking to Miriam Nabakwe, the owner of this really famous Western cuisine food store called Kienyeji store. Now, Mish Miri, as she's also known, has been all over the place in terms of everywhere that she's worked in the food industry has been high end, has been absolutely exclusive. And here she is running her own business, but it hasn't been an easy journey. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to explore where she got, how she got to where she got, and what took place along the way. Welcome, Miriam. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Right, karibu sana. Now, tell me something. Where does your passion for cooking traditional food come from?
My passion for cooking traditional food actually came from my growing up.
Uh-huh.
I learned how to cook from my grandmom
Okay.
and my dad, who was the last one in the family. So he spent a lot of time with his mother, who was my grandmother.
Right.
And so through that, um, I got to learn how to cook traditional food. And my dad is a great cook to date.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of eating in your household.
Oh, yes.
And this is what brought you into the food industry after, I suppose, school. Did you study food technology? How did you get in?
I think I've just had this passion from childhood. And even in high school, I did home science. And of course, home science had foods and nutrition.
Yeah.
And so I actually stood out in the foods and nutrition class where I studied in Bunyore Girls High School. And to add on that, I think when I finished Form 4, I started making bread
Okay.
and cakes,
Right.
even wedding cakes, because of what I had learned in high school, because I think we got the best, like the best quality education in home science. And even in my Form 4 results, I think home science was the best subject that I performed very well. Yes, so that passion has always been there. And the passion to work in the hospitality industry started when I was quite young. And that's how I ended up where I
Okay.
am because I took a course in hospitality management.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So then you end up being F&B manager for all of these fantastic rest. You've worked at the Tamarind Group, you've worked for Dorman's, you've worked for Sarova, like that career part of your life. Because I remember that's when we first met. You must have
Yes.
been balling, completely balling. Like how was it? Tell us a little bit about that life.
It was actually an interesting journey because when you're starting up, I should take you back a bit. Like when I started working as a pastry cook
Okay.
for African tours and hotels. That was
Right.
Sirikwa Hotel in Eldoret. And then from there, I got an opportunity to come to Nairobi and got a job with Tamarind Group. And so when I got to Tamarind Group, of course, they looked at my qualifications. And at that time, they were giving priority to people who went to Tali College. And so those of us who went to these other conventional colleges, we were not really considered that much. So I was given a job as a waitress. And I did not look at it in a bad way. I just said, let me build myself from this. And so that's how I started growing because I knew one day I'll get to that position that I actually trained for. And so with Tamarind Group, I worked as a waitress. I grew, worked as a cashier. I grew, worked in reservations. And then now, when Tamarind Group was merging with Dorman's Coffee, they were looking for managers. That's how I got an opportunity now to go to Dorman's and start working as a manager.
Okay.
And I think that is when now I was like operating in my purpose. I had actually gotten what I really wanted in the career. And that's how I grew. And from there, my star was rising and rising.
Right.
Yes.
And so you go on and you end up at Fairview
Yes.
where you realize that the entrepreneurial bug has hit you. Is that what happened?
Yes, that's what happened. But besides that, even having worked at Tamarind Group, I always used to do like a side business. I was always doing something on the side to supplement my income. And I always knew that one day I'll end up as an entrepreneur, though I didn't know when. So I just kept building on it. And besides that, like everywhere I worked, I used to like give my best and like give hands-on approach to the work that I was doing, and with a view of like someday if I opened my own business, I want to give it the same discipline. And so I kept growing and growing and growing. And when I was at Fairview, that is when I started like doing big business.
Right.
I was selling potatoes.
On the side.
Yes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So, by virtue of having been in the hospitality industry and having good networks, I was able to get like several establishments to supply while I was working. And it worked really well to a point that I ended up doing my research quite well because I felt being in the industry and understanding what the needs are. So it was easy for me to come in and supply exactly what the hotels want and what the restaurants want. So I got a few establishments and through my friends in the industry, and I started supplying potatoes. And to a point that I even leased land and started planting my own potatoes. And I ended up like having a space at Wakulima Market
Wow.
where I could bring the potatoes and store them there, supply, and then what is left I sell at the market. So
Right.
basically, around 10 o'clock, 11, my work is done. And at the same time, I'm working.
Right.
Yes.
So that's a lot of cash in hand. Like you're balling, you're
Yes, it was.
saving, everything is going really well.
It was really good. It was really good, I must admit. And to a point that now I started feeling that I need to actually go into it full time because I felt that if I give it my all, I mean, I would do better because most of the time I was at work. And so I had people doing the work for me. And I felt if I give it 100% attention, probably it would do much better than what it was doing because the potential was already there.
Right.
And all my clients, the ones I used to supply, were all happy with my services. Yes.
Okay. So then, what happens? How do you transition?
So now, how I transitioned when I was working at Fairview, I decided to take leave. And everywhere I worked, I always used to make sure I mentor my juniors so that even in my absence, work will still go on. So I took leave and decided to go and try and see what I could do. And when I went there, I mean, when I went on leave, I was able to do like 3 times what I was being paid. I mean, I did very well, to be very honest. And that's when I started feeling, no, it's time to move.
Yeah.
And besides that, I had already thought through it and I felt that I wouldn't want to just go and sell potatoes only. What about, because by around 10 o'clock, you finished what you are doing. And so what do you do with the rest of the time? I mean, of the day. So I figured out probably start consulting in the hospitality industries because um, what does the industry need? It needs expertise. People like me who have been trained. There are people who are doing businesses in the hospitality industry. They do not know that understanding of what they are doing, or probably they have establishments that are struggling. So they need that person who understands
Yeah.
the operations to come and help them out. And probably also startups, because by virtue of working for Dorman's Coffee, I was, and Sassini, the Savannah, if you remember the Savannah.
Yes, about the coffee
Yes,
shop.
I
that
was a
they- yeah.
project manager. And so I was exposed to projects. So I understood very well on setups of coffee shops from
Right.
beginning to the end.
Uh-huh.
So I felt probably let me do that with my extra time after I'm done with the potatoes. So now, after, while I was on leave, I managed to get one contract.
Wait. So hold up. So what year is this that you've decided?
That was around 2007 towards the end.
Okay.
So I managed to get one contract for consulting. And of course, my potato business was going on.
Right.
And so I felt it was the right time to leave. So I handed in my resignation. When I came back actually from leave and I realized everything was going on well, I mean, my
didn't fall
department,
apart without you.
yes, without me. So I was
Right.
like, it's just the right time to leave. So I handed in my resignation. And I should say it was not a very good experience. My employer was not so happy with me. And because they believed that I would stay longer with them.
Yeah.
I think based on the quality of work that I was giving them. And so I just had to go because once you make that decision, you just
It's
have to
done.
go.
Yeah.
I mean, So I went out there and I continued doing what I was doing, and it was doing really, really, really well. And the consulting was good,
Mhm. Mhm.
and because it was generating income,
Yes.
and the potato business was doing very well. As I told you, I had leased land. I think I planted like 3 times, which
Okay.
was very good.
Wow.
It was very good. It was much better than what I was doing before, like just going to source and then buy
Yes.
and then come and sell.
Yeah.
And then I started like building on it. Besides that, I could go, let's say, to Narok with the Maasais, they're not really farmers, so they lease their land a lot.
Yeah.
And probably discover a farm of cabbages, buy those cabbages at 10 bob, 20 shillings, like the bigger head. You come to the market and sell it for 60 shillings.
Yeah.
It was good
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kept building on it, and to a point that at one time I met someone who was interested in setting up a coffee shop. And so I had saved some money, and I felt probably it was a good idea to partner with them.
Right.
So when I partnered with them, I think that's where I started making mistakes.
Okay.
I was on the right track. I started making mistakes.
Right.
And I was carried away by excitement because I felt that the coffee business still had so much potential and it had good money. And I already understood the nitty gritties
Yeah.
of operations of a coffee shop. So I got into partnership with this person, and he brought in his chunk of money. I brought in mine that I had saved.
Okay.
And when he brought his money, he went back. He used to live outside the country. So he went back. So I did all the work, identifying a space, getting a designer, putting things together. And by that time, I have not even registered a company.
You've just taken how much money is this that you've put into
I put
this
in 2.8 million.
into an entity that doesn't exist on paper?
Yes.
Okay. Mhm.
So, of course, I knew when he comes back,
Yeah.
because he gave me 6 million and I put in 2.8.
Okay.
And he gave me in cash, and
Wow.
which I accounted for cent by cent.
Okay.
And I was really excited about that opportunity. And of course, what happened, I kind of like lagged behind with the potato business that was bringing me that money.
Right. Uh-huh.
I was not so consistent because I felt I want to put all my efforts into this coffee shop new venture. And so I actually lost some of the contracts of the potato supply. And but I didn't feel like it was a big deal because
Because
I
you're
was,
working on the
yes, I'm
coffee
working on
shop.
this other bigger project, and so
Yeah.
I felt it's going to be better than this other one.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I was only left with one client whom now I could comfortably manage
Yeah.
while I'm doing this other project.
Yeah.
So along the way, I started doing the paperwork in terms of registering the company, and I got all the documentation. So I was waiting for this partner to come. So the partner said that he'll come back into the country when I finish the project, so that he
Okay.
just comes for the launch.
Okay.
So I finished. I did the launch. It was such a big one. The day he came now, we were supposed to sit down and sign the paperwork.
Yeah.
And so that's when hell broke loose.
What happened?
He saw what I had done, and I think he felt he wanted to have it for himself
Uh-huh.
without me.
Oh.
And so he started giving those ideas of, like, probably let me just pay you as a consultant. I give you back your money and I pay you for what you did for me. And I run this with my wife.
Okay. After all of the blood, sweat, and
Yes,
tears you put into the
exactly.
uh-huh.
So he didn't sign the documentation. He said we have to change that so that he puts his wife there. Then he started giving a lot of excuses that didn't make sense. And so I felt so heartbroken because
Yeah.
I had put in my all, and it was very frustrating. It was a very long journey. And I think that's when I started going down, like things were not making sense. And
Right. So okay, so at this point
Mhm.
you've lost a huge chunk of the potato business.
Yes.
You don't have a job.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming the consultancies that you were doing weren't coming in because you'd been busy
Yes.
building your
Mhm.
own business.
Mhm.
And did you have dependents, people that were depending on you for, family, that sort of thing?
Yes, I did. I had my children, my 3 children.
Right.
No, actually, I had 2 children at that
Okay.
time.
At that time, you had
Yes,
two
I had two
children.
children. Yes.
Okay. What age are they at? I assume school going
Um,
at
can
this
I?
point in time when all of this is happening.
I think my daughter was. My daughter must have been around about to go to primary school, and my son was. No, my daughter was supposed to go to primary school, and my son was supposed to go to Form 1.
All right. So fine. So now here you are, you're out of pocket 2.8 million.
Mhm.
Did he ever give it back to you, this gentleman?
Now that's when now we started having a cat and mouse chase, and it went to a point whereby I had to involve the Sharia elders in the Islam
Yeah.
in their mosque,
Yeah.
in his mosque actually, and I had a group of guys who were trying to help me because now, of course, at that time I was consulting so many people to see how I could recover my money back because
Yeah.
I felt if I get my money back, then I would just pick myself up and do other things and
Yeah.
leave for him that
Yeah.
project. And so these guys, we sat with them severally, and I ended up wasting my time actually chasing for that money.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And in the process of wasting so much time, I got so vulnerable
Mhm.
to a point whereby I even got into a relationship,
Okay.
like someone who came with an idea of helping me recover my money.
Right. So
And
a debt
so,
collector.
yes,
Yeah.
no, not a debt collector as such, just someone who felt they could help me. And one thing led to the other.
Mhm.
I got pregnant.
Okay. Mhm.
And I ended up not getting my money,
Oh,
to be
wow.
honest.
Okay.
And besides that, I ended up losing the business.
Mhm.
And by that time, I met someone. I think someone came and saw what I had done,
Mhm.
and they offered me an opportunity to run a restaurant in Upper Hill.
Okay.
And so this guy was like, I've set up 5-star apartments, and there's a restaurant there. So I need someone who can come in. You can come in and offer free consulting
Mhm.
for the setup.
Mhm.
And then I'll give you the restaurant to run. All you
Mhm.
need to bring is just stuff and food.
Okay.
And you start selling and you pay me rent.
Mhm.
So I felt that was a good deal, and
Yeah.
it could help me get back on my feet. So I went for it.
Mhm.
And at that time, I didn't even have the money to buy the food
For the restaurant.
for the restaurant.
Yeah.
So I reached out to a friend whom I showed the business, and he actually lent me like 250K.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, you can be paying slowly by slowly as you get back on your feet. You'll advise me when you can do that. So I went to Upper Hill. I started running the restaurant. Now, remember, I was pregnant.
Yes. 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 Of course.
And being pregnant at that age was not so easy. I think I was around 38 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy. And I think I was also going through depression
Yeah.
because of that other experience of the money I lost.
Yeah.
And but I tried my level best to run that restaurant well.
Mhm.
And in the process, I managed to acquire like 2 good tenders to supply food in Upper Hill area.
Mhm.
So when I was around 9 months pregnant, things just couldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, my blood pressure had shot up, and I went to hospital, and the doctor told me, listen, it's either we put you on bed rest or
Yeah.
you'll lose your life and you'll lose this baby.
Yeah.
So I was admitted for some days
Okay.
and on bed rest and put to sleep, actually, to sleep by force.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So in the process, my restaurant closed.
Oh no.
Yes,
Okay.
because I wasn't there to run it.
Right.
And the staff that I had, I didn't I didn't have anyone, responsible to
Mhm.
take the business or to handle the business
Mhm.
well. And so I remember my mom had to come from the village to come and help do that.
Right.
And so I closed, removed all my food. The landlord was very understanding.
Yeah.
So he said, it's fine. He said he'll take over.
Mhm.
So they handed over everything, and
Mhm.
I pulled out my food and drinks. And yeah,
Mhm.
I had to
Okay.
go home and stay at home for like 3 months,
Okay.
shut out of all social media, the phone, no
Mhm.
communication until I got the baby.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So once again, now you've got three children,
Hmm.
including a newborn,
Yes.
and no income.
Hmm.
How did you how did you get to this point where we're actually talking today? What happened next?
Oh, it was um, it was tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. I think I was depending mostly on my parents
Uh-huh.
to support and a few friends here and there.
Mhm.
And to a point that I think after 2 months, I started telling my mom, me, I need to get to work because I know with my qualifications, I can get a very good job
Yeah.
in the hotel industry. And so my mom was like, yeah, go for it. But besides that, I started trying to go back to my clients for potatoes to see
Yeah.
if I can get the business.
Mhm.
And I managed to secure one.
Mhm.
So I started supplying, but
Yeah.
it was hard.
Yeah.
The comeback was a bit hard, having been away for some time.
Mhm.
And so I decided this thing is not working. So I better just go back to employment.
Mhm.
So in the process, um, there was Best Western coming up
Okay.
in Hurlingham.
Yeah.
And so they were looking for managers. So they were looking for a food and beverage manager. And so I sent them my CV.
Mhm.
And luckily enough, I was shortlisted for an interview and I passed.
Right.
So I got the job and it was good, though the salary was not as per what I was getting way back in 2007.
Yeah.
So what I can say, that comeback was not an easy one.
Mhm.
And I started feeling like, I'm not getting what I deserve. Though I have no choice, I need to do something to feed the kids and to
Yeah.
take care of the kids and take care of myself and to also.
And is Mr. Man involved at this point in time?
No,
Okay. All right.
no, he's not
Mhm.
involved.
Mhm.
So I worked there for some time. I worked there, I think, for a year and a half.
Mhm.
And it was really hard because having been independent and doing your own business, then you go back to employment, it's not so easy.
Yes.
You've been your own boss for the longest time.
Yeah.
So now you go back to an environment whereby you have to work according to rules again and
Mhm.
all. It wasn't that easy for me.
Yeah.
And of course, I was still trying to see what I can do on the side
Mhm.
to supplement my income.
Mhm.
So after working there, I think I started like job hopping,
Yeah.
because you're looking for better,
Yes.
better money.
Yeah.
So sometimes I could tell myself, let me just work and save and see if I can save some capital
Mhm.
to go back to business.
Mhm.
And it was hard. I should say it was hard.
Right.
I don't even understand how I survived, to be very honest. Right now, if you would ask me, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just by the grace of God that I survived. And then I remember after Best Western, I went to 4 Points.
Mhm.
And 4 Points, I worked like for 4 months. Then one time I'm just called and I'm told, you know what, we don't need your services.
It's not working like it should be. Yeah.
I'm
Uh-huh.
told like we don't need your services. And I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
So I just felt like it's fine. I won't come to work. So I'm fine. Let me just stay at home. So I started figuring out what next.
Mhm.
In as much as I really wanted to do this consulting in the hospitality industry, I found it really hard. Like a lot of business people were not embracing professionalism
Yeah.
in their businesses, or someone who can come in with that expertise to help them
Yeah.
build their business. It was really hard to penetrate through. I could get a few trainings here and there,
Mhm.
but it wasn't really sustainable.
Mhm.
And so I went into a moment of soul searching, like, now what next?
Yeah.
This consulting is not working. And if I get fine, if I don't, now what next? I need something that can bring in money every day for me to
Yeah.
be able to survive with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is when I remember I went on, I decided to go on a fast for 4 days
Mm-hmm.
and praying,
Okay.
like, God, really show me what should I do, because now I feel I'm a mess.
Yeah.
Employment is not working for me, and I need to get something to
Mm-hmm.
do, something that is sustainable. And so, in the process, when I broke my fast on the fourth day, that night, I had a dream that I was seeing a large vegetation of vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
and the vegetables were traditional vegetables.
Okay.
And I could not understand why. I could not link, you're dreaming about traditional vegetables. It
Yes.
sounds weird, like how?
Yes.
You need to be dreaming.
Yeah, about sophisticated coffee shops like you've
Yes,
been
all those
working
things.
with.
I'm like, vegetables? I
Yeah.
mean, why on earth vegetables? And I started now thinking, because, after you've had a dream, you have to internalize. Sometimes I do dream.
Yeah.
And I came to realize, like, throughout my life, when I dream, I just don't dream.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't dream randomly. I don't do random dreams. Like, even if I've been with you, we've had
Yeah.
that I dream about where you are, we
Yeah.
were together, or
Yeah.
no, 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 no. My
Yeah.
dreams are always significant.
Uh-huh.
So I had to sit down and start finding out exactly what did that dream mean.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started thinking about traditional vegetables. Okay. Um, First of all, we have a lot of vegetables in the market. Do you ever know what's legit and what's not?
Yeah.
You never know. A lot of things have been compromised in terms of the seed of the traditional vegetables. They don't actually have that traditional taste.
Ah.
And while growing up, uh, we lived on those vegetables.
Yeah.
I remember my mother used to feed us. There's some bitter vegetable she could feed us, and she tells you either eat or you don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you're hungry, you eat. If you don't want to eat, you sleep hungry. And most of us in the family, we used to sleep hungry because we couldn't stand the taste of those vegetables.
Yeah.
And I also remembered how we used to pluck those vegetables while growing up. Like,
Mm-hmm.
my grandmom sits you outside at the compound and she shows you how to pluck those vegetables,
Right.
how to prepare them the right way.
Yeah.
And I said, actually, there is a need in the market. Most people don't understand how to prepare those vegetables. They don't have time to even prepare those vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And even sourcing for them,
Mm-hmm.
do they really know what's legit and what's not?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, why don't I start doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I come in and offer that convenience to
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
like, source for those vegetables, make sure they are from legit farms.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, prepare those vegetables.
Yes.
And then
Correctly,
thirdly, do the
yeah.
initial cooking of those vegetables for the people.
Yeah.
So in your busy schedule, let's say you even have a house help, your house help is very busy doing other chores.
Mm-hmm.
There's no time.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't I offer that solution to families whereby they are always enjoying a healthy meal at the end of the day
Mm-hmm.
because of me, courtesy of me.
Yeah.
So I talked to a few friends and I told them, I have this brilliant idea I want to start. So what do you think? They're like, that sounds interesting. Why don't you start? Then we'll promote you.
Mm-hmm.
So I started small. I remember I didn't even have a big freezer because, of course, those vegetables have to be frozen.
Yeah.
So I started small, and the response was very good from my friends.
Uh-huh.
I started building on it slowly by slowly. And then I set up a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And when I set up the Facebook page, people started knowing about me, though it was really hard to penetrate into the market,
Yeah.
to make people understand exactly what concept this is.
Yeah.
And so some days I could make like nothing,
Mm-hmm.
others I could sell, and
Mm-hmm.
purely from my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then at one point, one media house spotted me. It was a print media.
Yeah.
And they did my story
Mhm.
when I had just started. They were
Yeah.
like, this is such a brilliant idea. We need to tell your story out there.
Mhm.
And so that is when I started having a bit of business
Right.
and started building on it slowly by slowly. And then at some point, I had hired some people, staff,
Mm-hmm.
to work for me. I had like 2 staff.
And where is this? Where exactly are you positioning this place? Because I assume you don't have a commercial kitchen. So where were you doing your cooking?
I was just doing it from home.
Okay, so you're home in.
Yes, in Hurlingham.
Okay,
And
right.
I had a good, I mean, I had a good house with a compound.
Yeah.
So I could use my veranda for plucking vegetables,
Yeah.
get the mamas to come
Okay.
pluck vegetables from the veranda,
Mm-hmm.
the back area for cooking.
Yeah.
So it was going on well.
Yeah.
And though I was a bit limited in terms of space,
Yeah.
like the freezer was very small. I had
Yeah.
a fridge that had a freezer. It was very small.
Yeah.
So, and then I started like taking orders, like weekly orders from customers and all. That was around 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So around 2014, I received a phone call. I remember I had gone to the gym because I like working out also.
Yes. Yes.
So while at the gym, I received a phone call from a new company that had just established itself in Nairobi, and they were looking for what we call a district manager.
Okay.
A district manager was supposed to be in charge of the first 8 stores in the country.
Also, we're talking about an international franchise.
Yes, an international franchise.
Okay.
Actually, one of the best American franchises.
Wow.
Yes. So I was like, wow. And the salary was good.
Amen and hallelujah. Okay. So things are picking up again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, that salary is so good. Even if I worked so hard in this vegetable business,
Yeah.
I'm not going to achieve that soon.
Yeah.
And so I went for the interview, and it was so automatic. Out of all the candidates that had gone, I was given the opportunity. And
Wait, and the job was for you to, what exactly did they want you to do for them?
I was supposed to help them like set up. And besides that, I was supposed to recruit the first 8 managers for the first 8 stores in the country.
Okay.
And at the same time, I was supposed to travel to the US with this staff for training, for intense training.
Okay.
Because, when you're setting up a franchise, you must have a training ground where you now equip your staff with the knowledge, train them on this SOPs, the standard operating procedures and all. And so I went back home, I remember, and I had to stop. I was like, why am I struggling with vegetables? Stop,
It's time to go the American route.
Yes, stop. I mean, even the staff, I had to stop them. So, yeah, I stopped and went back to full-time employment. And I also felt like, when I try, if I try to juggle between the two, I don't think I'll manage.
Yeah.
So, because I'm the one doing all the work in terms of the cooking, supervising everything, and this thing hasn't established itself that well. So we might start having a lot of issues, especially with the quality of the product. So I went and gave my 100% attention to that job. And of course, it reached time. We went to Florida.
Wow.
Yes. And we were there for 4 months.
Wow. Florida for 4 months.
Yes.
I'm jealous, but carry on.
So it was very good. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But one thing I noticed when I got there, like I was kind of like overqualified for the position because most of the people who were there were people who grew within the ranks.
Right.
Yeah. So they came in, probably someone came in as a merchandiser and was trained within the company and started growing and growing and growing to the positions they were holding. And those are the same people who are actually training me. So so I have a feeling, I used to kind of like challenge them, especially professionally, about some things. And yeah, we finished the 4 months. We came back home. And when we came back home, we were given like a week at home before we report back, just to recover from that jet lag and all.
Yes.
And also to catch up with family. And at that time, I had left my mom to take care of my kids. My mom had come from the village to come and take care of my kids. Yeah, so the day I went back to work, I did not even sit at my desk. I was fired.
Wait, what?
Yes.
You've just come back from a 4-month training trip and they just let you go.
I've never been fired all my life.
Why did they? What was their reason? What
There
did
was
they
no
tell you?
valid reason.
Okay.
There was no valid reason at that point. I mean, I also couldn't understand
Yeah.
what exactly did I do.
Mm-hmm.
There was no gross misconduct. There was no, that warrants all those. And so I had to go back. I mean, it was a very difficult time because, you're trying to understand exactly what did you do, because they were just like, we just feel your position is not so, we don't really need it. After the training, we felt that we really don't need your position. We need to groom these people that you took to the US to come up to that position. You
S-
get it?
So, so it sounds to me, and I could be wrong. I mean, I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
put this judgment on anyone that I
Mm-hmm.
don't know and I have never met, but
Mm-hmm.
they used your talent in picking talent to pick the talent for themselves. That you understand, like you were the connection to the people that
Yes,
they could.
exactly.
And once you were done with that job,
Yeah,
then
exactly. So,
okay,
I mean, it was really hard to understand at that time. But along the way, as we continue with this
hmm
interview, you'll get to understand that, some things you go through in life,
yeah,
you get to a point whereby you start understanding exactly why that happened.
yes,
And it
yes, indeed,
was for a reason, and a
yeah,
very good reason.
hmm
Though when that happens at that point, you don't see it from that perspective.
yeah,
You start feeling vulnerable.
yeah,
I remember I was so depressed. I
yeah,
wasn't leaving the bed. I
yeah,
was sleeping all day,
hmm
not even taking a shower.
right,
Like, what did I do? Why do I deserve this? And then
hmm
you start looking at your past and all the things that you've gone through,
yeah,
and you start imagining that, you are unlucky,
yeah,
and you start having all these things built up in your mind, like, probably I'm not worth this, probably I shouldn't be alive,
yeah,
probably, all those probablys.
yeah, yeah.
And I remember when I came back, I could not even tell my mom because she has high blood pressure. And
Ah,
I kept it for some time, and she could not
mhm.
understand why I'm not going to work.
Uh-huh.
And eventually, I had to break the news to her, and I told her, there must be a reason. I
Mhm.
mean, God must have a reason why all this is happening."
Mhm.
And so along the way, I started thinking, now what next? First of all, they had not paid me.
What the franchise with the
Yes,
big salary?
yes,
They
they
had
hadn't paid me.
wow.
So I said, okay, fine, I need to chase for my money. And
Yeah.
because I already had a contract, and my probation was 6 months. So they have to pay me for those 6 months.
Yes.
So I got a very good lawyer who agreed to help me pro bono,
Mhm.
one of the famous lawyers in town, very
Wow.
good friend of mine. And
Bless that
so,
lawyer.
yes,
Mhm.
so he helped me pro bono and sent them a demand letter for
Mhm.
them to pay me. So they paid me actually for all the 6 months.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. And that was quite good money. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this will give me like a good foundation to pick myself up.
Mhm.
So I used that chunk of money to pay for my rent,
Mhm.
like in advance, and
Yeah.
then some of it to now reestablish the vegetable business.
Yeah.
So as I went along, now you don't have a steady income. My rent was not cheap,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
trying to build yourself up again,
Yeah.
and without a steady income was quite hard.
Yeah.
My life started deteriorating and going down,
Oh no.
and to a point that I missed paying my rent for enough months, like 4 months.
Wow.
And all the 4 months, I remember my landlord disconnecting my power, disconnecting my water.
Oh,
So how?
trying to get you out.
Yes, trying to get you out. And
Yeah.
so how do you do business now? You don't have power. How do you freeze your vegetables?
Yeah.
You don't have water. How do
Yeah.
you? I remember I used to buy water, and buying water, sometimes they could even stop the truck from coming to my compound.
Oh yes, because yeah.
They just want you out,
Yeah.
But I couldn't understand why, because I had lived there for a very long time, and
Mhm.
I always used to pay my rent like upfront.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, later on you come to discover, they're also just in business. They need their
Yes.
money. If you can't afford it, move out and look for affordable accommodation where
Yeah.
you don't have to stay there.
Mhm.
So I continued like struggling, and I remember my son was out of school for 4 months.
Okay.
I couldn't afford even school fees,
Wow.
and he became a ridicule to the other kids in the compound because now he's at home and they are going to school. They're like, "Why are you not going to school?" And then he comes, he's really frustrated. He's like, "Mom, why am I not going to school?"
Mm.
And my daughter was in high school at that time. She was in Form 4.
Mhm.
My elder son, I think through my frustrations, also just started having his own issues also.
Right.
And so it was, I think, part of the worst time of my life.
Wow. Because everything
And
has compounded and
yes,
landed at the same
yes.
time. Yeah.
And then for some reason, luckily enough, I got like 3 consulting jobs.
Mhm.
They all came at once, like
Wow.
simultaneously, 3 of them.
Out of the blue. Like,
Yes, out of the blues through referrals.
wow.
And 2 were foreigners, one was a local.
Mhm.
And we were heading towards the election period.
Mhm.
So I got all excited. I went to my landlord and I was like, "Look, I have these 3 contracts.
Yeah.
And so money will be coming in, so you don't have to worry about me.
Yeah.
Once the money comes, I'll pay my rent and plus upfront because this is a lot of money." It was
Yeah.
good money. It was going to be very good money
Yeah.
in tune of millions.
Okay.
And so along the way, when we were nearing the election time, 2 of the clients like canceled the contracts
Oh,
and they
no.
left the country.
Uh-huh.
And there's nothing I could do. So
Yeah.
I was like, the only hope I have is this local one.
Mhm.
So the local one was actually supposed to give me a down payment.
Mhm.
And the day he was to give me a down payment, I think after we had just visited his site, so he dropped me home and he was supposed to put in a check the following day. So when I wake up in the morning, I find this long email that he has sent.
Ah.
But because of uncertainty and all those reasons, I decided we just hold a little, we see how things go, because I'm feeling if I invest in this and then things go south during the elections, I might not be able to pick myself up. So you just be patient, we'll get back to you. I was like, now I'm done. I'm ready for anything.
My goodness. I. Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
was like, I'm ready for anything.
Yeah.
So that was 2017.
Okay.
So, um, because I had already talked to the landlord, and actually there were landlord agents, so they were expecting me to put in some money,
Yeah.
and it wasn't coming by. And so I remember one of the guys in the office called me and asked me, "How far have you gone?"
Mhm.
I didn't have any answer. And so the manager called me
Mhm.
and told me, "Come to the office, we need to discuss." So when I went to the office, she welcomed me well and she talked to me nicely and told me, "Listen, I think things are not going on well for you. We've tried to frustrate you so that you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
give us some money. It's not happening, and we do understand.
Yeah.
So, what we need you to do on Saturday, we need you to just hand over the house to us. We get another tenant.
Mhm.
Look for alternative accommodation. We will allow you to take your things, and then you come. After you have gone, you get some peace.
Mhm.
You come, we sit down and agree how you will pay us back."
Okay.
Kumbe, that was a trap.
Oh, wow.
That was a trap.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know. So, but for some reason, the way your instincts tell you no,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Considering what I've gone through, these people don't seem to be genuine.
Mhm.
Something must be amiss somewhere. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not so sure though.
Yeah.
I can't point a finger on anything.
Mhm.
So then I decided to take my son, the small one, to my sister's place because her son was they're almost age mates, so that
Okay.
he can just be away from that
Yeah.
environment for some time. Of course, my daughter was in school, so I was with the big boy,
Yeah.
and the big boy was he was doing a course,
Mhm.
so he was always away like during the day.
Right.
So I remained. That Saturday came, and my son was away. And then in
Mhm.
the morning, of course, now I was waiting for the agents to come and
Yeah.
look at the house, inspect the house, and
Yes.
allow me to go.
Yes.
So when they came, I saw them coming with some strange people. And these two strange people, one of them just came in and I saw him pick the keys from the door. And I realized, okay,
Nikubaya.
Nikubaya.
Oh gosh. Uh-huh.
And when I was still trying to come to terms with the reality, this lady comes to me and tells me, we are the auctioneers. I don't know from what and what. And so
Oh no.
we have come to pick
Yeah.
stuff to recover money for the landlord. I was like, take.
Okay.
Yeah, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was like, so what are you taking? So they said, we are only allowed to pick stuff from the living room and the kitchen.
Okay.
I told them, take.
Mm-hmm.
So shortly, I saw a truck come in,
Mm-hmm.
and there were guys who had come, I think handmen, so they were helping them pick stuff and take.
Right.
And I remember I was even asking them, do you even want to take beds and everything? Take everything. Even my
Fagia.
clothes.
Go,
Fagia
go.
yote, like you're just tired,
Yeah. Yeah.
You just want to have your peace. And so they took what they took, almost everything, left the
Oh.
house clean.
Oh.
They took plus curtains,
What? Yeah.
And so I was left there, I think, with stuff in the bedrooms. That's the beds and clothes. That's it. All electronics gone. Everything gone.
Oh my gosh.
Everything gone. And after that, I called my sister and I told her, listen, they've taken everything. I need temporary accommodation. And now that my son is already at your place, I want us to just come there for some time as I figure out what next. She was like, fine. So my sister lived in Kawangware. So we moved from Hurlingham to Kawangware.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and I think I've never had so much peace like when I did that, when I moved there.
The burdens of your old life have gone with the auctioneers.
All gone.
Now it's starting
I
again.
remember one of the auctioneers was like, hey, Ati, let's take your number. We will steal the items and give you from the store. I was like, no, just take them.
Yeah.
Take them. I don't need them. I'll get new ones, So at that point, we went to Kawangware. I slept.
Yeah.
Oh, I slept so well.
Yeah.
I was so peaceful. I mean, no burdens, nobody coming to chase after you for this or the other. Let me just relax. So my sister's house was not so big. It was like a 2-bedroomed house, and we all squeezed in there. It was fine. The kids were happy. My son was happy. He's mingling with his cousin, like nothing happened. He could not understand why we are there. It was like we've just gone to visit. So we are having a sleepover that took longer, So, yeah, I think I rested for like a full week.
Wow.
Yes.
Sounds well deserved because you've been through years of turmoil. Yeah.
Yes. So a full week. It was during that election time. I think we went through elections and
then we went through elections again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after 1 week, I was like, so what next? Kienyeji has to wake up.
Okay.
So how will it wake up? And interestingly, I'm very vocal on social media. I had talked to people. I like talking about my story. This is what has happened to me, this and that. So just through that sharing of my story, a lot of people came out, how do we help you? How can we help you get back on your feet? A few friends send me money here and there, just, see what you can do. It's little, but you figure out what you can do. So, along the way, my mom called me and I told her, listen, I want to wake Kienyeji's up and I am not going back to employment no matter what. I want to try and give this 100% focus because along the way, I have learned a lot of lessons. I have failed so many times. I have been hit so many times. I've gone through experiences that are harrowing and I need to pick me and I need to focus. I think I've been jumping all over the place,
Mhm.
and I've not been able to like see the fruition of something that I'm starting.
Mhm.
And I have learned a lot of lessons.
Mhm.
And since this idea, I feel it was divine sent. And I'm walking away from my purpose. I've been walking away from my purpose. I've not been obedient.
Mhm.
I need to pick me, and I need to be obedient. And I need to give myself 100% focus.
Yeah.
So she asked me, so what can I do for you? I told her, send me a sack of vegetables. Let me start from there.
Mhm.
And that time, my sister has a very small fridge and like a small freezer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I'll start from here. I really don't care. I mean, because now I don't have that burden of struggling to pay a lot of rent,
Mhm.
struggling to figure out this or that. And life in Kawangware was very reasonable, manageable.
Mhm.
And besides that, it was also very easy because the house had a very good veranda.
Yeah.
So all I needed was to get a few mamas. And you see now in Kawangware, there are so many.
Yes.
And they do understand that kind of work.
Yeah.
So it was so easy for me to like guide them and show them exactly what I want.
Mhm.
So, and it was easy to get cheap labor
Mhm.
available.
Mhm.
And so I started small.
Okay.
And I started building myself up again. I started going back to social media. I remember I even went to church. The time I went to church for counseling,
Mhm.
and the pastor told me, you know what, the church has that fund that they called relief.
Okay.
We can give you, just ask for whatever amount you want.
Yeah.
I told him, no, I don't need that. I don't need that. I still have my brain intact.
Mhm.
I have my hands. I can work.
Yeah.
And a few friends came together. They were like, okay, so what do you want us to do for you? I said, all you need to do for me, just buy me a small freezer.
Yeah.
And so I remember they raised around 36,000.
Mhm.
So I bought a small chest freezer.
Mhm.
And that was the beginning of me picking myself up
Right.
and being able to freeze my vegetables
Mhm.
properly and going back to social media to market my food.
Uh-huh.
And so along the way, I think I was, because elections were in August.
Mhm.
So September, October, I was still in my sister's house.
Mhm.
So in November, I remember I used to do some training work in Tanzania.
Mhm.
I received like a random phone call, like, we need you to come and train.
Mhm.
And so I was like, now do I take this? I had vowed that I'm not going back to this kind
Yeah.
of things because they actually distract me and they
Yeah.
deviate me from what I'm doing. And
Mhm.
so I end up getting messed up. So
Mhm.
I was like, should I really go? Should I? So I had actually taught two of the mamas they work well. So I was like, if I leave them, I think they can push this.
Yeah.
So the only issue would have been probably just the customer service and handling the phones. And
Yes.
because I was doing it myself,
Yes.
I was also handling social media myself
Okay.
and marketing myself,
Yeah.
ordering the produce because most of my vegetables come from the village so
Okay.
that you're just guaranteed of that authenticity.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, that I can remotely do,
Mhm.
from where I am and
Mhm.
just make sure I guide them wherever they are and make sure things are going on right.
Yeah.
So I went to Tanzania actually for 2 weeks. And
Mhm.
that training job used to be a very good one because every day I used to be paid like 30,000.
Wow.
Yes. So I
Mhm.
was like, that will be good money to help me like add on to what I have and,
Yeah.
establish myself properly.
Mhm.
So I went to Tanzania, but I'm telling you, it was tough because in the midst of training, you're getting phone calls, messages on WhatsApp. Oh, what do we do? How do we do this? And I
Mhm.
was like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
This is the last one I'm doing. I'm never going back again.
Mhm.
So I got the money when I came back, and above my sister's house was a vacant house
Okay.
that the landlord used to use as an office.
Mhm.
And so I just approached them randomly and I was like, that house you're using as an office, why don't you give it to me?
Mhm.
And he said, are you serious? I said, yes. And then he's like, okay, let me go talk to my wife. So when he talked to his wife agreed to give me that house.
Mhm.
So I had money. So I paid in a deposit plus rent and I moved to that house.
Okay.
So I moved to that house with nothing, like only beds and clothes.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And plus my chest freezer that my friends bought me.
That is something actually, but yes.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and there was no TV, so my
Yeah.
son could ask. So I'm using my laptop,
Yeah.
Citizen TV,
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
fixed the internet, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, we can still watch TV. No seats,
Yeah.
just an empty house, a
Uh-huh.
shell, and so I decided, okay, this living room is going to be the working area.
Okay.
I'm not in a hurry to buy seats, so I got a few plastic seats just for the mamas to sit on them.
Yeah.
So they could come in the morning, they sit in the living room, do the work, we finish, do the vegetables. I'm the one doing the marketing, I'm the one doing the social media and all. So, yeah, through that, for some reason, NTV spotted me
Yeah.
online and they reached out and asked if they could air my story of what I'm doing because they feel it was a very unique idea. So they came, they did the shoot from that house, and that's when a lot of people started now knowing me
Right.
and what I'm doing.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be very honest. Every time I slept, I used to tell myself, listen, you are not going back where you came from.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going back where you came from.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't learn the lessons, you would be a fool to go back there again.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept pushing and pushing. Every day, my mind is alert
Yeah.
because I'm at peace. So I'm able to think through things better, soberly, without worrying about this or about that.
Yeah.
And some days would really be a struggle because you don't make any sale.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I liked about it is that my children never missed food.
That was because you're cooking.
Yes,
Like there was always
yes,
food
there was
around them.
always food.
Yeah.
And besides that, I started becoming more creative, like doing a bit, like initially I had just started vegetables.
Yeah.
To be very honest, I didn't even know I would get to food and all.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to do is just to show people that, these vegetables, this is how you can finish them off. This is how it should appear on your plate and you can eat it with this and that and that.
Yeah.
So through that, people started asking, can you make for us that?
Yeah.
I want this.
Yeah.
Make for me this. So the business started leading me to other ideas, you know. And the customers also, through their feedback, and I listened to all of them. And like even the vegetable combinations, to be very honest, it's the customers who are telling me, mix for me this, mix for me that. And then I'm like, oh, that's a very good combination. Let me add it on to my product list.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I grew.
Wow.
That's how I grew. So I got a lot of media publicity. And besides NTV, Citizen came.
Right. And Citizen was a big one, eh?
Yes, Citizen was a big one. Then KTN, and then Print Media Nation, Standard. I was in Parents Magazine, so people started knowing what I'm doing, It started making sense after I kept talking about it, And then COVID hit.
Aha. COVID, because it's where you get to this part of a story and like everyone talks about how COVID was a bad year for everyone, but then in the food business, it wasn't quite the same, was it?
As for me, COVID came as a blessing.
Yes.
Number one, because of the need of eating healthy.
Yeah.
And now I was offering that product that was healthy.
Yes.
Number two, the restriction of movement. Here I am. I'm sourcing the vegetables for you. I'm doing the initial preparation for you. All you're doing is just to get a pack to go and finish off at home.
Yeah.
So I remember that time when the restriction of movement was announced, like we did massive sales. Massive sales.
Yeah.
We ran out of vegetables. And so I started getting very active.
Wow.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And then one time along the way, when Citizen were doing their features on food business and COVID, I happened to be lucky to be now the person to be featured. And I think that was now the peak of my business. And that was the moment where now I started feeling like this business is now pushing me from the house to a location. And I can say I didn't I didn't even have money to go and pay for the deposits and rent, because when I was trying to look for a location, I was like, it has to be a very central place
Yes.
where a lot of people can reach me, because now I was having a challenge whereby people want to come to my house.
Yeah.
And you're not sure who is coming,
Yeah.
because it is this COVID time, and we are all being very careful. We are sanitizing,
Yeah.
local,
Social
social
distance, yes,
distancing.
yeah.
And and then also, okay, I was doing moving a lot of deliveries. Actually, that time I was using mostly the existing delivery apps. And I had also identified a few riders whom I had made, I had developed relationships with.
Yeah.
So at that time, I felt, no, I need a location. I don't have that money to pay in the deposits and all. And I was like, okay, fine. Now where? Kilimani.
Yeah.
Oh, Kilimani is not cheap.
Yeah.
So I ended up looking several places. They were very expensive. And then got this one where I am currently at the Mall 66. And I remember when I went to see the landlord, and initially when he had set up that place, I was among the first people who had gone to look for a space there, but I couldn't afford it.
Right.
So he already knew me.
Yeah.
And he told me, you're still looking for a space. I told him it's because the last time I couldn't afford the rent. And right now I want to start, but I don't even have that money. I don't know if I'm going to afford it. And then he said, no, the rents came down to this amount. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds manageable. And he told me, you don't have to worry. I know you. I was like, wow. He's like, I know you. So what you do, don't stress about that. You identify the space you want. So I went, identified, and I told him, this is the one I like. And he told me, okay, do this. You just start.
No deposit.
No
nothing.
deposit, nothing.
Fuck. Do you see how it all went full circle
Yes,
from you putting
exactly.
out money for a restaurant that didn't work to now the restaurant being given to you with,
Imagine.
Yeah.
So he gave me that space, and he told me, you'll be paying slowly.
Yeah.
And first of all, I couldn't believe. I thought he was lying. So
Yeah.
The way when someone is being too nice to you and you've gone through all this, you're like, hey, is he really sure?
Proceed
Or
with
probably
caution.
he'll wake up the following day, he's changed his mind.
Yeah.
So I got the space. I continued, of course, working from the house. So what I decided to do, like the little money I could make, even if it's 10K, I collect like within a week 10K, I put into his account like that.
Yeah.
Like that, because I didn't want to pile up a debt again.
Yeah.
And so I started the work. I'll be very honest. I think everything was just working in my favor.
Wow.
Because there's a guy I know whom I had given a project once when I was doing consulting in the hospitality industry. He came in and he told me, listen, you really helped me and I'm going to help you free. So I'll give you all the fundis.
Yeah.
And to help you, I'll help you negotiate.
Yeah.
And so you just figure out how you'll do your thing. I'll show you where the warehouse, the hardwares are, where to get stuff. And that's how I started.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so here you are, like you're doing well, everything is successful. At least it's growing. How are you feeling about your business? How are you feeling about Kienyeji's now?
To be honest, I'm very happy.
Okay.
Because I should say now I'm operating in my purpose.
Yeah.
I love what I'm doing. I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. And I'm very happy because the focus paid off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It paid off. And as I'm going along, I'm just seeing new doors opening and new opportunities opening. And I should say that I'm glad I learned the lessons. And one of the highlights is like when I went to the US and came back and I was fired, I came to realize that actually there was a good reason why I went there. I went to learn.
Yes. Because
the bigger picture of Kienyeji is to become a franchise.
Okay.
And here I am. I was working for one of the best franchises in the world.
Right.
So whatever I learned, I should duplicate it in my own business.
Yes. Yes.
I needed that knowledge
to
bring it to my own business. And that's exactly what I'm practicing.
Okay.
Yes,
So that's what you meant when you said earlier on that everything in your life happens for a reason.
exactly.
So what else? I mean, all of these things being auctions, being everything. What do you think the ultimate reason for those was? Like, where was it headed when you look at it in hindsight now?
Okay, when I look at it, it was, I should say
Mm-hmm.
it was a process of learning lessons.
Okay.
And when you're learning lessons, you need to be very positive
Yeah.
about everything. Besides that, when the occurrences happen, you never see it from that perspective.
Yeah.
You'll, of course, see it differently and look at yourself like, you're unlucky and all. You'll get depressed. You'll start imagining all these things
Yeah.
like, the devil is at work.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Sometimes the devil is never at work. It's just our bad choices.
Yes.
And so I should say it was a process of learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to get to that point of being broken to nothing
Okay.
so that I could get back to my senses and
Mm-hmm.
pick myself up and, you know, start operating the right way
Mm-hmm.
and start doing things the right way.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Because they do say when you've hit rock bottom, there really is no place to go but upwards.
Exactly.
And I guess for you, that was the day that the auctioneers came through and took
Yes.
everything that was your absolute where we're going from here,
Mhm.
except upwards.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I have a question about coping with the depression that
Mhm.
follows when you go through a series of failures and you truly feel hopeless because
Mhm.
you recovered,
Mhm.
but there's so many other people who stay exactly where they are because depression can feel like a thick fog
Mhm. Mhm.
that you don't know how to get out of. So,
Mhm.
what would you tell to an entrepreneur who's feeling, I can't shower, I can't brush my teeth,
Mhm.
I can't bother to get out of bed? What do you do to get yourself out of that and get yourself moving?
First of all, is staying positive.
Mhm.
And staying positive, that doesn't come easy. I
Mhm.
mean, you need to reach a point whereby you realize, you know what, as long as you have your brains intact, you're
Mhm.
healthy,
Mhm.
you can still get up
Right.
and do something.
Okay.
And I had to reach to that point.
Mhm.
And of course, sometimes it's also good to be spiritual, to pray,
Yeah.
to seek God.
Mhm.
And along the way, I think there are also some interesting experiences whereby you're seeking God in the wrong places,
Mhm. Mhm.
wrong doctrines,
Yeah.
you get messed up.
Yeah.
So you need to find yourself as a person because you have got direct access to God and, tell him exactly what you want
Mhm.
and pray about it
Yeah.
and pick yourself up, hang around people who can help you.
Mhm.
I'll be very honest, even right now, as I'm doing what I'm doing, one of the things I've not mentioned is the fact that I have got experts who are working with me. I'm not
Right.
just doing it on my own because I
Mhm.
don't want to make mistakes again.
Yeah.
I made mistakes out of my own thoughts and making decisions on my own without seeking professional help.
Mhm.
And that is what I've been exercising all through. I have someone who's helping me professionally,
Mhm.
who used to be my senior. I
Mhm.
have a business consultant. So I don't make decisions blindly.
Okay.
And I'm finding it a little more, a lot better
Mhm.
and easier to maneuver things through.
Mhm.
And through that, I've been able to see good progress
Right.
with what I'm doing.
Mhm.
So you sometimes could find yourself down. Probably it's just bad choices you made,
Yeah.
wrong decisions,
Mhm.
uh, lack of discipline.
Yeah.
Discipline is very important.
Yes.
Lack of discipline, lack of focus.
Mhm.
Those are some of the key indicators of that. And so you need to try and eliminate them
Mhm.
and pick yourself up.
Mhm.
And I believe if you do so, the sky is the limit. You'll start seeing progress and
Right.
results in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amen and hallelujah.
Thank you.
Now, do you have any final words of inspiration for entrepreneurs who feel like they're about to give up? Because I think one thing I've noticed about this journey for everyone is that
Mhm.
the first 6 months to a year are always beautiful because you've probably just left your job and you've pumped in savings and
Mhm.
you've talked to a couple of friends and they're
Mhm.
buying your items. And then after that, the suffering starts.
Mhm.
So, anyone who's in that phase two of that entrepreneurial journey,
Mhm.
what would you tell them
Mhm.
in order for them to, sort of get through it and get to the other side?
Mhm.
without feeling like they want to exit this planet and go to heaven to live with Jesus for the rest of their lives. So
Mm.
please let us know.
Um, what I can say is number one, I will actually base this on my personal experiences. Um, you've got to get to a point whereby you focus,
Yeah.
unwavering focus,
Yeah.
whereby you decide no matter what, I am going to make sure I work on this
Yeah.
until it works. Number two, also look at your finances.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, if I had moved to a cheaper house, I would have done better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If would have taken my child to a cheaper school. We live in a world whereby people want to identify with some certain class, yet
Yeah.
they are struggling.
Yeah.
Or identity crisis, whereby you're looking at society. What will society think of me?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I was like, okay, Halingam, beautiful house, 85,000. You downgrade to Kawangware. You're not a lesser person moving to Kawangware to start from there.
Yes.
Just live within your means.
Yeah.
And build yourself up. Because when you're trying to build a business, you need the money. Your spending cannot be so high, yet whatever is coming in is not capable of even sustaining that business. And also, what I can say, I don't know what word, like Tama.
Yeah.
You want this, you want that.
Yeah.
I remember someone was asking me, you don't even have that Tama to get like a car and all that. Personally, I've driven cars, I've done everything.
Yeah.
My focus now is building the business. My focus now is once I've set my standards, my standard operating procedures, my targets, I want to achieve them.
Yeah.
The cars will come. All these other things will come.
Yeah.
But as long as this business stabilizes and it has a strong foundation, I will get there.
Yeah.
All these things, like, when I was auctioned, that's when I realized these are just things. They come and go, But once you've built a strong foundation for yourself, then it's able for you to stand.
Right.
So that entrepreneur who's feeling down and who's feeling like, they don't want to go, just keep pushing.
Yeah.
Remember, there are days I never used to make any sale.
Yeah.
I could do like 2-3 days. I've not sold anything, not any single vegetable. But I never gave up.
Yeah.
Because I had already made up my mind that I'm going to give this my all. And no matter what. And you see, it was manageable because now I was living in a house that I could afford. My child was going to a school that I could afford.
Yeah.
And so whether I don't make a sale 2 or 3 days, I'm still able to juggle between my life. And, I'm not going to get to a point whereby I'm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then another thing is, like, when it comes to focus, you find that sometimes we have people who are all over the place. You're doing thousands and thousands of things. I was one of them. You want to be here, you want to be there, you want to be there. Pick one thing that you will run with, because unless you give focus on one thing and see it come to fruition, you'll be all over the place, jumping all over. You can't, it's not easy to actually clearly see where you're going and to clearly see, what you're doing and the results.
Yeah.
You've got to give one thing focus.
Right.
And take it to the end.
Okay.
And eventually it pays off.
Yeah.
And then marketing yourself also out there. You need to talk about what you're doing. That's how people will get to know you. People will get to come and support you, support your business. And you should not be ashamed to talk about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because how will people know that these are the services that you're offering? You need to be out there talking about it every day. And I think that is what has really helped me, and that has really helped my business grow. Because I got to a point whereby I'm so shameless. I'll talk about my business. I'll talk about what I'm doing. I'm very proud about it. I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
And so through that, people discover me and they give me business. Yes.
Wow, what a story, Miriam. My
Thank you.
goodness. I have you had me wondering if there was any tissues close by at some point because the
You are
tears were just
tearing.
balancing over here. So I just want to say congratulations on successfully going through this up and down journey of yours and coming out the other side looking like such a champion.
Thank you.
Congratulations on Kienyeji's existence. This would be its third year of existence, right?
This is the third year, actually.
So congratulations on keeping your business going and on serving such delicious meals. Like if you haven't eaten a Kienyeji's meal, I don't know what you're waiting for. So if you want one, where can we find your food if we're looking for it? You said Mall 66?
Yes, Kienyeji's is actually at on Ring Road, Kilimani.
Yeah.
Inside Mall 66, which is opposite Ad Life Plaza.
Okay. All right.
Just on the same side as Yaya Center.
Okay.
Yes.